Hey everybody, welcome back to another tutorial. It's been a long time, hopefully I can keep this going. But today I'm going to show you how to make nice soft cushion foam. This is something I've had to make quite often, and every single time I end up making it different because I'm never happy with the result. So I spent the weekend just trying to come up with a really simple way that I liked, and here it is. So let's get started. Okay. So here is just a default Blender scene, and something I see a lot of people do that drives me crazy is they go here, they go here, they go down to color management, they set this, then they have to set their gamma and camera and all that stuff. You don't have to do any of that if you're working with one of the Octane Blender builds. All you do is you go to File, New, Octane Default Startup, and everything's done. The only thing you have to do is change your kernel to path tracing. And then I always turn these up out of habit. And then whenever I'm working with subsurface scattering materials, I turn this to 12. And instead of 10 for the GI clamp, I usually go to 100. And now I'm ready to get started. So I'm not going to delete the default cube. I think my foam block was 3 inches by 20 inches by 12 inches. Yeah, looks about right. And then I did bevel the edges a bit. Oh, let's apply the scale. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay. I don't want this daylight environment, so I'm going to delete that here. I'm going to get a texture environment. Right now it's just white, but I'm going to drag in my HDRI, and I'm just using the Artist Workshop. And right now it just looks like a plastic rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this universal material. And I usually work with standard surface materials. I don't know why, it's just how I don't know, have changed my process over the past couple years. So base weight doesn't really matter for subsurface scattering, this foam specifically. So it doesn't really matter what you make this. You can just leave it at full. Let's do a lamp version. And all we're going to be working with is the subsurface weight right here. So subsurface scattering. And let's make this a little bit more obvious. So let's add a light, area light, raise it up, scale it up, and I'm going to move it back, aim it here, actually move it up, make it bigger, there. And the way I'm getting the light to point my model, selecting the light, hitting Shift T, and I can move my mouse around and point where I want it. All right, so right now it does not look like foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a pink shade, and right now there's so much subsurface scattering that everything's just going through it. So we need to make this more dense, and you do that by adjusting the subsurface scale here. So if I make this 0.01, you can now see that I've got some light going in. I'm probably going to light a little bit brighter. Okay. There we go. It's looking good. It's way too shiny though. So the specular roughness, we're going to turn that all the way up. And then the scale, I'm going to move it up a little bit more. There we go. Now I'm actually getting light penetrating the top, coming in the sides, or coming out of the sides as well. That's a little bit too much. So let's do that. But I'm going to add one more light in. That's going to go here. Another area light, make it smaller. There we go. Yeah. And right now it looks like foam, but just because it's noisy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add a noise texture to it. I'm going to crank these up to like 12, crank the omega, give it some contrast, about, I'll say like 2. Yeah. And I'm going to give this a box projection. Put a gradient map down, clamp these values a little bit. I need this to be a lot smaller because dense foam looks smooth, but it actually has a bunch of tiny little holes. Try 0.1. Nah, it's maybe probably 0.01. There we go. That's what I'm going for. And what I'm going to do, because it's a habit from Cinema 4D, this is usually how I control my bump. So I take this, put this into my bump, I leave this alone, and I control the strength through here. So if I go here, you can see I'm controlling nothing, full bump. So I'll probably set this to 0.8. And now that'll help break up the light a little bit. It'll give it a little bit of texture when it fully renders out. There it is. It's super simple. You can change the color. And if you don't like this white being shown back at you, that's the subsurface radius. This is the color absorbed. This is the color coming back out. You can actually change that. So now, where it was white, where you saw, now it's this bluish purple. I normally leave this white just because when I was shedding light on my foam cubes, no matter what color they were, I was getting a white scattering and white edge. But you can have some fun with it. I also like blue. I think that's really cool. And I do leave my subsurface color value all the way at 1. And the radius just a little bit lower. So there we go. And then if you liked that shot that I had for my thumbnail, I added a empty and added a simple deform, selected my empty, went to bend, and I rotated this around. This always takes me forever. Oh wait, I lied. My model and my thumbnail had a lot more subdivision and geometry to it, because it was actually a piece of concrete that I modified to make it into a foam cube. So there we go. This should actually bend more. I'm gonna subdivide this. There we go. Now this will actually bend. Okay, so I rotated it on X 270 degrees and on Y minus 90, and now it'll actually bend how I want it. So I took the camera, framed it up about here, duplicated my foam, oops, and then I just played with my gizmo here to bend it how I wanted. This is also cool, this right here. If you select this, this will actually be your depth of field for your camera. So you don't have to go into your camera here. I lied, camera here, and play with your aperture or anything like that. You can just select it right here. Now you can still adjust how much depth of field you want, but this is way faster than going into here. And And then I added a plane, scaled it right about there. Grab this, which I just missed. There we go. Beveled this. Made it smooth. Then obviously I moved my light back in. Gave this some material, turned down the specular, turned down the brightness by adjusting its color. These were a little bit higher. But yeah, that's essentially it. So you can see some nice light scattering through the edges here. You're going to have a nice little noise texture from the bump map. When this does finally render out, I do recommend like at least 1,500 samples. This does take a little bit to render, but when it does, it looks really good. So yeah, hopefully you like this. I know it was quick. If you want, I guess, a slower version of this, let me know, and I can make another one. If you have any other requests, put them below, and I will try to get to them. All right, thanks.